afternoon, early evening. It's 5:06, and we will start our August 22nd board meeting. Welcome, everybody. And Ms. Amaker, would you do the honors of the roll call?
President Kaminsky,
Here.
Vice President Kelly is absent. Clerk Wood? Here. Trustee Cooper? Here. Trustee Sorensen is absent. Trustee Napier is absent. Trustee Sweeney? Here. Superintendent Larson Everson? Here. And I'm Donnie Amaker.
Thank you. For our flag salute and moment of silent reflection, it will be led tonight by Director of Technology, Ryan McKay.
Please stand for the salute. Hand over your heart. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. You may be seated.
Thank you, Ryan. Item 2, approval of let the record note that at 5:07, Vice President Kelly is here, and we're glad to see him. Item 2, approval of the agenda. It's recommended the board approve the agenda as presented. Do I have a motion to approve?
So motion.
I'll second.
It was motioned by Trustee Cooper and seconded by Trustee Sweeney to approve the agenda as presented. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Motion passes 5-0. General function, superintendent update.
Thank you, President Kaminsky. Good evening, everyone. It's good to see everyone, and it's my pleasure to provide an update for you this evening. Technical difficulties, huh? All right, let's go ahead and go to the next slide. Just a reminder that we start the superintendent update each and every meeting with sharing the good, which we call hoorays, and this is in alignment with our Capturing Kids' Hearts model. So as you may recall, at the last board meeting, we shared a lot of hoorays on the 8th, and I just have a few this evening, and then we'll move on to update items. So I'm going to start with a big hooray and a thank you to Kern County Fire, Bear Valley Association, Cummins Valley Elementary Team, and our TUSD Transportation for their outstanding cooperation and coordination through the Trotter Fire incident. Clearly, it was a good outcome. We didn't have to evacuate the school, but there was a lot of communication that happened to make sure that students and staff were kept safe, and outstanding outcome that Kern Fire was able to get a hold of that and shut it down quickly. So, hooray! Hooray! Ooh, everybody's awake this evening. That's great. All right, I have another hooray I want to share with you about Snarg and Plory. If you don't know Snarg and Plory, I'm going to tell you a little bit about them, but Plory is an orange alien who appears in iReady reading and math lessons for students in grades K through 3. Plory is really smart. She analyzes situations and helps solve them. Plory is lovable, but also a little bossy, and she's often part of the story or problem that students are challenged with in iReady. And look who's here! It's Snarg and Plory.
I'm going in for the... No? Oh, make me wait. I'll come over here. Thank you.
Thank you. Never looked better.
So as I was saying, Snarg and Plory are famous characters from iReady, and they have been visiting all of our schools, our elementary schools, let me say it that way, to inspire our K through 3 students to be excited about their work in iReady and really get them excited. And as I mentioned, you can see that Plory is an orange kind of alien. And Snarg is a little bit like a blue alien dog with horns. But they definitely add plenty of character to the storylines and prompts that are in iReady. So I really want to thank Snarg and Plory for visiting all of our students at our elementary schools, and this evening for coming in here in the board meeting so you'd get a chance to meet them. And I know that they have inspired our students to do their best within iReady and put forward a lot of effort. So thank you, Plarg and Snorri. I imagine you have a lot of reading and a lot of math problems to go work on for iReady, so thank you for coming in. Let's give them a hooray. Hooray! It's really been fun to see the students' reactions and getting to meet Snarg and Plory. Characters come to life, so it's been really great. All right, back to school nights. Back to school nights were held last week for Jacobson Middle School and all of our elementary campuses. There was an outstanding turnout of parents and families to visit each school. I want to thank our teachers for their hard work and the preparation that they put into providing our parents with excellent information. And I also want to thank our families for taking the time out of their busy evenings to be active participants in their children's classrooms. I had the opportunity to attend JMS as well as Golden Hills and Cummins Valley, and I really enjoyed seeing so many families on campus. Just as a reminder, back to school night for Tehachapi High School will be held on Wednesday, August 30th, and I invite and encourage all of our board members to attend. So hooray for JMS and elementary back to school nights. Hooray! Thank you. I wanted to speak for a moment, just to give you a little update about the impacts of Tropical Storm Hillary. As I'm sure everybody in this room is keenly aware, the 58 was closed for an extended period of time, and that definitely impacted our ability to be fully staffed on Monday. But more importantly, we had to do some water, mud, and debris remediation on our school campuses. We have the Red Cross occupying the TEC gym, and just wanted to give a shout out to Mr. Gilbert and Hugo for making sure that they were available to get that gym open. I was there early on, and at that point we didn't have any evacuees, but I know that they were ready and willing to support those families that might need that type of assistance. Also, I want to thank our administrators along with all of our M&O and custodial staff members who conducted yesterday active reviews of all classrooms and school facilities to ensure that we were getting those spaces that needed a little extra attention ready for occupancy of students and staff. And I particularly want to say thank you to custodial and grounds team members because they just had some heavy lifting to do with cleaning and getting things dry and ready and prepared for our students to return to school today without further disruption. So it was definitely a team effort, and that's what I have to say about Hillary and its impacts. Now we'll move on to a quick sports update. The new sports season is off to a great start for our Warriors and Lady Warriors. Fall sports include cross country, football, volleyball, girls tennis, girls golf, and cheer, which is a year-long sport. On Friday night, August 18th, our Tehachapi Warrior varsity football team came away victorious over Ridgecrest Burrows, 42-14, and also our varsity and JV tennis team broke in their newly refurbished tennis courts with wins over Bakersfield Independence, 7-2 and 6-3 respectively. The varsity volleyball team lost in a 5-set thriller to Burroughs, 3-2, but has a lot of talent, and we're absolutely looking forward to seeing great results from all of our our volleyball teams, varsity JV and Frosh Soft. And with that, I just want to say how much I know the community, as well as all of our staff here, are looking forward to sharing more in the future about the successes of our sports teams as they go on to compete in league competition. quick enrollment update. As typical, on the left, you'll see that's our column for week 1 in 22-23, and on the right is the data for this year, week 1, 23-24. You'll see that really varies by site, whether they're up a little bit in enrollment or down a little bit in enrollment, but comparing week 1 this year with week 1 last year, we have an increase of 32 students. And since we exited school in June, we are up 107 students. So we'll continue to monitor our enrollment and attendance, but so far, we're pretty much in the ballpark of where we typically are.
Thank you. Could you explain, maybe for the new trustees, why there's no number for TILA last year? I understand why.
Yes.
If you could.
Yes, thank you. So I think you guys have it, that TILA, it just became a site of its own. So previously, TILA students were tracked to their home school, because that's where they were actually enrolled. So their enrollment counted in their home school, and then we just started, over the course of the last year, counting them K through 8 in their own campus as TILA. However, high school students who take TILA coursework are still counted currently as part of the high school enrollment. Thank you for that, Mr. Kaminsky. Okay, so let's take a quick look at attendance. You'll see that we're just showing for week 1 what the percentages are, and pretty much across the board, they're very high. We like to see that. As always, we seek to maintain a high attendance rate. We recognize how important attendance in school is and that strong link between attending school and positive academic outcomes. So far, with overall district-wide 97.13 attendance rate after week 1, that's a great start, and I hope we can keep that trend of high attendance going throughout the school year. Okay, let's talk about cell phone policies and data for a minute. President Kaminsky had added the topic of smartphones to the future agenda items list, or future topics, and this evening I have a few pieces of basic information that I wanted to share related to the topic, and then I'll leave it to the board at that point to give further direction. So I just wanted to start with sharing the California Education Code. That code number is 48901.7. And I'm not going to read it. You've all been provided it. It's the same information that's on the slide, but I know it's hard to get in there and read because of the distance of where the slide is. But the most important part is that EdCode does provide that the governing body of a school district or county office of education may adopt a policy to limit or prohibit use of its pupils of smartphones while the students are at school, except under certain circumstances. So what it calls for is that a pupil shall not be prohibited from possessing or using a smartphone under any of the following circumstances. One being in the case of an emergency or in response to a perceived threat of danger. 2, when a teacher or administrator of the school or district or county office of education or charter school grants permission to a pupil to possess or use a smartphone, subject to any reasonable limitation imposed by that teacher or administrator. 3, when a licensed physician or surgeon determines the possession or use of a smartphone is necessary for the health or well-being of the pupil. You know, we have some students who may be checking their blood sugar levels or whatnot using a specialized app on their phone. And then finally, when the possession or use of a smartphone is required in a pupil's individualized education program. So those are the basics that come out of EdCode, and I just wanted to make sure that everybody had that as starting information. And then if you can go to the next slide, Mr. McKay, what I have listed there for you is straight from the Tehachapi High School Student Handbook. This just spells out for that particular school what the rules are with regard to cell phones. And again, it says that the devices shall be turned off in class except when being used for a valid instructional or other related purpose as determined by the teacher. And it goes on to detail that when there's a violation, a cell phone violation, what would be the disciplinary actions that are taken for that campus. On the next slide, I have the information that is straight from the student handbook for JMS. So basically, it follows the same format that the students are supposed to have their phones turned off, and spells out the offenses when they're broken, what is the consequence. And one piece of information that you probably wouldn't distinguish by reading the policies from both of the handbooks is that cell phones are supposed to be put away during all times when students are on campus at JMS. So they're supposed to be in their backpack. So they cannot use them when it's a passing period or lunchtime or whatnot. However, at THS, that is not the case. Students are allowed to access their cell phones during passing periods, during the nutrition break, and during lunchtime. So that's kind of a difference I just wanted to spell out for you, since you can't tell that by necessarily reading what's in their handbook policies. So if we go to the next slide, I didn't pull together, well, I didn't want to put in a slide all of the cell phone data. There's a lot of data that's out there with regard to cell phone violations and discipline. So I just took a slice of looking at a 1-month period, and I thought the last month of school might be a pretty good time to look at what those cell phone violations looked like. So the data that you see up there is from May 1st, 2023 to June 1st, 2023. And these are the number of cell phone violations that were recorded as related discipline incidents for both JMS and THS. And you can see that there were 97 violations in that 1-month period for JMS and 12 violations recorded for THS. And just to help with everybody understanding how these are recorded, of course, I redacted names out of the comments that were put into the discipline record, but just giving examples here from JMS. Was using cell phone in class, teacher confiscated and brought it to the office. Running down the hallway, yelling and recording with phone, teacher confiscated and brought phone to the office. Was using AirPods in class, teacher confiscated and brought to the office to be picked up at the end of the day. Those were comments from the JMS discipline records, and then from THS, cell phone violation, taking snaps in class, claims they were selfies, phone confiscated for the rest of the day, on cell phone in class, warned numerous times by teacher not to be on phone. And the final comment that I chose to include is third violation, advised that cell phone should be kept in backpack during all classes, parent notified. So these are just snippets of data to give you an idea, number one, of kind of how much administrative action is going into addressing this issue and how it's being recorded within our official discipline data. And then finally, if you go to the next slide, there is a sample CSBA policy that is available with regard to cell phones, but in all reality, it really reflects what is in Education Code 48901.7. It's not very different. So I just wanted to make you aware of, in response to Mr. Kaminsky's, President Kaminsky's request to have it as a future item, that I think a good place to start is with generalized information, including that there is education code that guides us. We, as a district, cannot prohibit students from having access to a cell phone, but beyond, and the conditions that I outlined, such as health and an IEP, and then what our existing rules are for students right now that have been shared with both students and parents. So with that, I'll wrap up that portion of my update and take you on to a reminder about Sipping with the Soup, that our next session is coming up on September 5th. I'll be over at Conan's from 7:30 to 10 a.m. And I would encourage anyone who's available to come and join me, usually joined by a few board members as well. And it's always great conversations. I love to hear from our community members and parents. And again, I just encourage you to attend and join us. And then finally, a few reminders on upcoming dates and events. Citizens Task Force will meet on Thursday, 6 p.m. Our DLAC is meeting next Tuesday at 4:30 p.m. Of course, our Tehachapi High School Back to School Night is next Wednesday on the 30th. We have a Labor Day holiday coming up on the 4th. And then, as I just mentioned, Sipping with the Soup will be on Tuesday the 5th. Our first early release collaboration day of this school year will be on Wednesday, September 13th. And then finally, just a big reminder about our parent conference week and minimum days for all of our elementary sites and JMS. That will be the week of September 18th through the 22nd. And then, not to be forgotten, Facilities Advisory on the 21st at 6 p.m. And of course, you can access all of these various events and the events for each school site by visiting our district website, and the calendar is listed there and color-coded by school. And that concludes my report for this evening.
Thank you very much. I have a question for Ms. Levitique for the back-to-school night on the 30th. Will that start in the gym? Yes, it will. Thank you. Okay, item 2 on general function, TAT update. Ms. Bowman.
Good evening. Good evening, President Kaminsky, members of the school board, Superintendent Larson Everson, and members of the public. My name is Val Bowman, and I am the president of TAT. I sound a little raspy today, forgive me. First thing is kudos to the superintendent and those who assisted her in making the wise choice to cancel school yesterday. The last full-on tropical storm to pass through this area happened in 1939, so Tropical Storm Hillary was a unique event. A bit more than 6 inches of rain steadily fell over several hours, and it was bound to cause problems. Personally, I'm thankful the rain fell over time. It happened on a weekend when more people had a choice about their activities, and Monday was sunny, so the district damage could be determined without the constraints of so many on campuses. Before I read the next part, TAT wants to give kudos to the TUSD maintenance and custodial staff. With students off campus and everybody off campus, they had enough time to lift and dry wet carpets, clear debris, fix immediate safety issues, and check hundreds of classrooms for damage from rain and our super earthquake, our hurricane. At the same time, city crews have been clearing the streets of mud and other materials. County crews and Caltrans worked to open highways and clear badly damaged rural roads, which they are continuing to do today and I think are going to be doing for a while. Had there been school Monday, safety and educational conditions would have been sacrificed as repairs were made, and students would have been shifted into other classrooms because so many site staff members would have been stuck waiting for impassable roads to reopen. I know the 58 didn't reopen until almost 2:20 yesterday afternoon. TUSD was not the only district closed in the area either. By 4 p.m. Sunday evening, districts from Ridgecrest through the AV, including Saracosa, had closed their doors because the danger was understood and safety was paramount. Most on social media recognized the need for the closure and seemed to appreciate the concern. A few only saw in the morning, on Monday morning, a patch of blue sky because for them it was impossible to see anything else. This closure represented much more than a snow day because of the uniqueness of the storm's intensity and length. It was about safety, and that closure was a very smart decision. In the meanwhile, regular TAT business, we're getting ready for new site elections, and this will balance out the team and will allow TAT to represent members in the contract to the very best of our ability. So thank you, and have a good night.
Thank you, Ms. Bowman. CSEA, Mrs. Resendez.
Okay, got it. Good evening. My name is Sandy Resendez. I'm the CSEA chapter president. Tonight, I want to acknowledge all of the classified employees who worked throughout the summer to help educate, feed, transport our students. Their dedication to our students is essential to the success of our district. I would also like to give kudos to the maintenance, grounds, custodial, and technology employees who worked tirelessly throughout the summer. There were numerous projects and extensive cleaning and waxing done at all the sites. Several employees worked extra hours, some worked weekends, to get the schools ready for the return of our staff and students. A big thank you to all of our exceptional team members. Thank you.
Thank you, Mrs. Resendez. PTO update. Seeing no one stand up, we'll go to Number 5, board communications. I'll start it off. It was my pleasure to attend the JMS Back to School Night on Wednesday. Very good crowd. And I did stop in every classroom for about 5 seconds so I could say I was there. And but I had a few conversations with teachers, introduced myself to some newer teachers if they weren't presenting to the parents. And then the next night it was at Tompkins, as I reside in the Tompkins area with 3 elementaries going at the same time. I had to make a choice, and that was why I made that choice. Nothing against CV or Golden Hills. Yeah, Mrs. Markison's giving me the thumbs up. She was fine with that. So. And again, it was both campuses look great, and the teachers had their rooms looking really nice. And I'm going to confess to a crime I committed. I think Mrs. Ray knows what this is. I confessed to her on my way out. I have a former student that teaches at Tompkins, Ms. Gracian, and she must have had easily 5 dozen cookies, probably more. And I went to another classroom. I won't name the teacher, but I've known her for a while, and she didn't have time to bake. So I said, I'll get you some cookies. And I didn't ask Ms. Gracian if I could take some. I just did it. She had plenty, because I went back again on my way out and checked. So that's my board communication. Anybody else?
So I was able to go to James as well. And it was actually nice because I had to park off campus because there was no parking on campus. I mean, that's how full the school was. And it was nice to see. I mean, I'm sure President Kaminsky can say how much fun it was trying to weave out of traffic as we walked up and down those hallways or ran.
I live a block away. I walked.
Yeah. And it was nice. I mean, there were a ton of people had their kids, just meeting teachers. Teachers were welcoming. Some new teachers, I don't know, 4 or 5, something like that. But it was nice to see. It was nice to see all of the community support out there.
Any other board member have something to share? General function, public comments. Public comments will be allowed. The board president will recognize any member of the audience wishing to speak on items not on the agenda, but directly related to school business. Pursuant to Board Bylaw 9323, the board may limit comments to no more than 3 minutes per person. Public comment will also be allowed on each specific action item prior to board action. The president may allot time to those wishing to speak, but no action will be taken on matters presented and no discussion of non-agenda items will occur. If appropriate, the president or any member of the board may direct that the matter be referred to the superintendent's office for placement on a future agenda. I have one yellow sheet, and that's Marilyn White.
Good evening, my name is Marilyn White. I have a student that goes to Tehachapi High School, and I've been in this school district forever, so I'm not a new parent. So oftentimes you don't get to look at your school through the lens of what everybody else is talking about. So I recently received a foreign exchange student from Germany, and he was accepted at Tehachapi High School, so I got to go through the whole process of enrolling a student after school started with a new student. And I have to come here tonight to just praise Tehachapi High School staff. Mrs. Libatique was outside during the chaotic days, so I went inside. Every single person that I came across was happy, smiling, knowledgeable, and willing to help. So I was just super impressed to see that, because sometimes all you hear on Facebook are negative things. So I'm going to encourage anybody who hears negative things, every now and again, go inside the schools and see what's going on. The second thing I want to give kudos to is my student his dream is to play American football, and Tehachapi High School is making it happen. From the athletic department to the counselors to IT to everybody. He started school on Monday. He was on the sidelines wearing a jersey Friday night. So you have a really great staff at Tehachapi High School, and I'm super kind of excited to like go through this and see it from a different lens. So yay THS.
Great. Thank you all for sharing that. Any other public comments? Let's see. I need to find it. Consent agenda, item 5. Consent agenda items are those normal, if you will, in nature, and don't normally require discussion or dissension among the board. If anyone does want to pull an item off the consent agenda, please let me know. Now, any items?
I don't want to pull anything off, but I do want to make a comment if that's okay. Personnel department, it looks like they handled maybe all or all but one of our prep periods, which is amazing. So that Dr. Romero and her department deserve a
All but
kudos for that. All but two, okay. But much better than we were 2 weeks ago. So thank you.
Correct. And I just want the public to know that the certificated report was updated yesterday from what was previously posted. Do I have a motion to approve the consent agenda?
Kelly, I make the motion.
Second.
It was motioned by Vice President Kelly, seconded by Trustee Cooper, that the board approve the consent agenda as presented. All in favor, say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Motion passes 5-0. Superintendent, informational item, presentation and custodial support model.
Thank you, President Kaminsky. This is another one of those items that, based on your request to address as a future item, we're bringing forward this evening. It is an information item just to be able to share a little bit about what our current structure is. So that's my goal in sharing the information with you, is just to talk about what is the current structure, what is the same as it's always been, what's a little bit different. I'm going to hit those points very briefly, and then specifically allow staff, our administrators from the school sites, as well as some of our custodial leads, to be able to share information and respond to any questions that you might have. So having said that, let's talk just a little bit about the current structure. Each school site does have a lead custodian, and the lead custodian is the primary link for custodial and facility needs between the actual school site and the maintenance and operations department. The lead custodian provides training, guidance, and support to custodial team members, specifically at their school. And the lead custodian is also the primary connection with school administration about the school's custodial needs, including like upcoming events, like getting, that's their point of contact for the administrator to, let the rest of the team know about back to school night or a school dance, upcoming events, or specific areas that need attention, removal of, dirt or garbage or anything in particular that might crop up as a need on their campus. And the lead custodian works very closely with maintenance and operations to order their custodial supplies and coordinate other services, such as contractors being on campus. The lead custodian does not evaluate the other custodial team members. All evaluation of the custodians is completed by site administration with input and support from the maintenance and operations department. And I want to point out that the MOU to establish the current structure that we have That was board approved back in September 13th of 2022. That's when we established and approved the MOU, and then the model was actually implemented on January 1st of 2023. So that's, it's a relatively new structure, and of course, when we begin something new, we're still in a learning process as well as continuing to develop and refine. So if we can go to the next slide, I'll just talk briefly a few things about what's the same and what's different. The same, training in safety procedures and chemical usage continues to be implemented by our M&O department. And of course, campus safety and cleanliness are our top priority. What's a little bit different is that when we need substitutes or rovers at a school site, it is coordinated by the lead custodian instead of by the maintenance and operations department. And then, of course, what I had just spoken about a minute ago is that the custodial evaluations under this model are now conducted by site administration, whereas previously they were conducted by maintenance and operations. And really, you might be wondering, like, why did we revise our structure? There was some definite intention behind all of that, and I just wrote down a few bullet points that I'll share with you, and then you can hear from staff about it as well. But first and foremost, we wanted to be able to provide timely and consistent, as well as meaningful evaluations and a feedback loop that is ongoing to support our custodial staff, and this structure does that. We also wanted to increase the time that's available to maintenance and operations to focus on facilities as a whole, and that also resulted in restructuring that department to meet that department's needs. And now the department has a project manager and a secretary, and the project manager was not a position that existed previously. Also, a big goal of this model is to improve communication between school administration, custodial staff, and the maintenance and operation department, because they have to really coordinate and work together in an ongoing fashion. And then finally, to increase and improve the safety and cleanliness of all of our campuses. We know with better communication, everything is better, and we're hoping that, our campuses are looking better and better ready to meet the needs of our students and staff. So at this point, I'm going to invite Mr. Intezari just for a moment, because he has been working on the development of a lead custodial handbook. So it is under development, and I know he's been sharing it with leads and with administrators for input. So, Mr. Intezari.
Thank you very much, Superintendent. Thank you, Board. Yes, so we have been developing the lead custodian handbook. When we had initially developed the new model, we had expected that the lead custodians assigned would be able to carry out most of the duties, kind of independently, be able to support the administrator. Now we have found that the administration also needs support, and so we've developed the lead custodian handbook in order to guide the lead custodians, informing of the expectations, just summarize what the memorandum of understanding details, and as well as establish procedures that were normally handled at the maintenance office. Now we have consolidated that into one document, and having the opportunity to meet with the lead custodians in order to develop, since they are the ones that are carrying out these tasks, ensuring that it's also in alignment with other documents that we have, whether it's the LCAP, whether it's the school site safety plan. And so this document kind of merges that all together into something more digestible, and also documents the procedures and expectations of record keeping, cleaning procedures, so that anyone that reads it can understand, not just the lead custodian, an aspiring lead custodian, an administrator that oversees their lead custodian, and this kind of brings it all together in order to bring independence, or at least autonomy, to the sites, kind of for the administrator to be able to be responsible for their site. Under the old model, we kind of looked at all the schools the same. If we were short at one site, we would pull from the site that had the most custodians, but in the discussion about implementing this model, we learned that that's unfair to the site, that, just because it had more custodians, why did it have more custodians? Well, it's larger, right? So then we were just kind of subpar across. And so in the development of this model, we're hoping to really bring that authority to the site administrator, who can dictate what the needs are of the site for their site specifically. It leads to a little more of a cohesive understanding in the relationship between the custodian and their administrator, and we think that this handbook really brings that all together.
Thank you, Mr. Antazari. So we can go to the next slide, Mr. McKay. So at this point, I just put a slide up to allow for team comments, because I understood that that was part of the request, was to hear directly from site administrators, and so we'll go ahead and kick it off. I'm not going to use the fickle finger or anything else. I'm just going to let whoever wants to come on up, take their time, and then I know that we have a few of our custodial team members here as well.
Good evening, Superintendent Larson Everson, and also the esteemed board. Before I continue, that was not like a thumbs up, but I was happy you were not there. You were always welcome at Cummings Valley. But I am happy to provide an update on the effectiveness of having a lead at our site. Our site lead is Matt Welchel. He is our current lead at Cummings Valley. Mr. Welchel has also taken the role since July and has proved to be a very supportive part of our team. He also supports to ensure that the maintenance needs, the extra training of any new of the extra custodians, and as well as planning for the absences. Mr. Welchel has also elevated the campus by completely demonstrating his pride in his work, as well as the other custodians. Mr. Welchel and I often communicate daily, and this can be from something as also simple as like something ordering, or if there's something more important that needs my immediate attention, he will bring that to me. As a newer admin, so not new, but newer admin to the district, it gives me a total peace of mind that I have that person that has the eyes and the ears for the campus for me, to make sure that the team, so not only him, but the whole team has what they need to make sure that our campus stays really, really beautiful and safe. And then finally, in partnership with Mr. Kurt Gilbert and Mrs. Kelly Patterson, as you mentioned, that entire team has also proven to make our site safe, clean, and very welcoming to staff and students. So with all of that, as the site leader, I'm really thankful to have a lead that is able to support me and our school. Thank you.
Good evening, Superintendent Larson Everson and members of the board. I just wanted to provide an update on the effectiveness of the custodial lead at Tompkins. I'm Claire Ray, the principal there. This is my second year as the principal at Tompkins, my 8th year in the district. I greatly appreciate the support that the superintendent has given me to manage my site and to ensure that I can be an instructional leader and effectively manage all aspects of my site. Matt Resendez is the lead custodian at Tompkins, and it's really helpful to have him. We communicate daily, and we text constantly on the weekends or in the evening if there's something that comes up, so it's really nice to know that he's on top of everything, even the night staff. So it's really helpful to me because my responsibilities are vast, and I know that I can trust Matt to make sure that everything is happening as it should. He ensures that absences are covered, and he comes to me and discusses his needs and concerns as they arise. We both communicate with M&O, but I typically leave that up to him, and then he fills me in as I have, my hands full with running the site, and I trust Matt with all of those aspects. Kirk and Kelly have been such a great help to us. Matt communicates with Kelly constantly and then comes and fills me in, and with such a small staff, they're doing such a great job. Mr. Kaminsky got to see all the new updates when he was there at back to school night, and the campus looks beautiful. In my opinion, custodial site leads are an integral part of the site management team. That's how I look at Matt. He is a part of my site management team. He helps me with those day-to-day things that I often can't get to, how squishy the grass is because the sprinklers ran too long, or this needs taking care of and that needs taking care of. For instance, yesterday, he gave me a list of the wet tiles in the roofs before I even got to campus. He was there, he had walked it, he gave me a list. I verified and sent that to maintenance, but he was on top of everything as usual. So thank you, Superintendent, for giving us this vital connection, the site leads, between principals and maintenance and operations.
Good evening, Superintendent Larson Everson and members of the board. I'm glad to be able to provide an update on the effectiveness of custodial leads at our site. This is my 9th year as site principal, and during and after the pandemic, our roles have become more challenging and more complex. So we greatly appreciate the support we have received from the superintendent in managing our sites and ensuring that we are able to be instructional leaders and also professional problem solvers, and the problems get stranger and more interesting by the minute. So Sandy Resendez is our lead custodian, and it has been so helpful to communicate and collaborate with her around site maintenance needs, training of new custodians, and planning for custodial absences. Since Sandy has become the custodial lead, we have hired 2 new custodians. She has effectively trained them, and I'm happy to report that they have a similar work ethic and genuine concern for the school and its facilities, and I completely credit Sandy with this because that is something I feel like she's given to them in that training, that ownership and care for the school. She has also been efficiently ensuring that custodial absences are covered and always discusses with me what she feels the best solutions are. So we both communicate with M&O, but my responsibilities, as these ladies said, I'm echoing what they said, but they're many and diverse. And so it's helpful to have someone on site that can follow up and collaborate with M&O and then follow up with me. Kirk does amazing things with his team. The amount of work they can get done with such a small crew is truly amazing, and Kelly has been such a helpful addition. She communicates with site admin and the custodial lead, and we use a team approach to get things done. In my perspective, this was needed because it provides a structure and a system for communication and collaboration, which we were missing. We are all working hard to meet all of the needs in all of our individual worlds, but we're all moving really fast, and so it's really important to have that communication and collaboration to have the most efficient response. And I want to say one more thing about Sandy, and that is that for all the years she's done this, she's always had that level of ownership and care for the site, and she's always taken that leadership role. So to me, I feel like it makes me happy to see her paid and rewarded for that, because she would do it anyways. And I think that's you know, an important thing to know about her. Since I'm here, I just want to publicly thank the site custodial team, Sandy, Raymond, and Omar, along with M&O staff for all of their hard work and teamwork in dealing with the water intrusion at our site. It was quite amazing what they did, and they worked tirelessly yesterday, and our site is pretty awesome today, so we truly do have the best team, and so I wanted to give kudos to them tonight, too. So thank you.
Mr. Lowe?
Hello, I'm Eric Lowe, principal at JMS. Thank you for giving me a couple minutes to talk. I think this new structure is a work in progress at JMS, is what I'll call it. I think it has some real potential, and I do like working more closely with the custodians than I did before. We are still working, Mr. Ben and I, our vice principal, are working on a steep learning curve, I think. We didn't know how much we didn't know about custodial until we started working more closely. We're both hands-on types of people, like to know how things work, so we've been learning a lot about stripping wax, laying wax, the different machines, the different things that are involved in the custodian's job. All 5 of our custodians are people that are working hard, and we value them all. And I have to say, I'm retraining my eye in a different way. I think my understanding of some of the things that the custodians did was probably a little simplistic. I thought more about what was happening in classrooms and instruction and things like that. So I like working more closely with our custodians, to be honest. I have a lot more interaction with them than I had before. It's not always smooth. I think that probably there have been times that Mr. Bin and I have been a little frustrated with how things were going. I imagine that the custodians have been pretty frustrated with us as well. But I will say again, I think it's a work in progress. We're building our structure at our school in a way that works for us to be able to communicate clearly. And I am looking forward to being able to do evaluations with people who work at my school. That's how we do it with everybody else who, for the most part, works at the school on a regular daily basis. But it is a work in progress for us. And we're getting there. I guess I'll say it that way. We're getting there. So, thank you. Oh, and by the way, our lead custodian is Efren Nanagan. He couldn't be here tonight, but you're welcome to ask me any questions you want about more specifics if you like. Thank you.
Ms. Liberty?
All right, well, I'll be the weirdo here because custodians are actually under Anna Hoffman, who's one of my VPs. But we, as you know, because you've already met our last year's Employee of the Year, Karen Harris, who is I always call her our custodian extraordinaire. And to echo what Kendra Daly said, we have the people who are in our leadership positions, at least at my school, at Kendra's school, are people who are taking that lead. Like, if you ever, I told you before, right, like, Karen has one pace, and that is, like, as fast as humanly possible, right? So, well, I'm like, if I'm trying to follow her, I'm like, she moves, she works, and so this is paying her, yes, exactly what she deserves, because before she was the day custodian, and like the morning custodian, she was in the middle of the day and still orchestrating everything. So now she's able to get paid for what she was doing previously. So again, very lucky that we have Karen. Love also having Kelly as a project manager. But like I said, Anna Hoffman, she's supervising the volleyball game, so she can't be here. But she is the one who interacts with everybody on a daily basis.
Thank you. And I know we have some custodians and custodial leads here, so we'll open the mic to them for them to make comments, and I believe that our project manager, Kelly Patterson, is here as well. So Kelly, we'd love to hear from you as well.
Hi, I'm Matt Resendez. I'm the lead custodian at Tompkins. I'd like to give an update on how the new custodial structure and the new lead position is working out for the custodial team at Tompkins. First off, I'd like to speak about the new custodial structure that puts custodians under the direct supervision of the principals at their sites. This has been a change that I and many custodians have advocated for a very long time. Questions and concerns are addressed quicker, communication is better, and in general, we feel more supported. Our custodial team is frequently coordinating and working with the principal to effectively meet the needs of the students and staff. As a result, the custodial operations at the school these past 7 months have run more smoothly and efficiently than in the past, and I directly attribute that to the change made this past January. Next, I want to talk about the lead position. I feel that this position has been extremely valuable for us at Tompkins. As a lead, my responsibility is to arrange custodial coverage for our site whenever there is an absence or a vacancy, train new employees who come to our site, work with the principal and our custodial team to come up with a plan on how to successfully complete our summer tasks, as well as meeting the needs of the students and staff during summer school. This requires a lot of extra planning. I am also in frequent contact with our project manager to figure out when, where, and how long each project will take, and what steps may need to be taken to ensure contractors complete their tasks with minimal interruptions. This has been our first summer with this new system, and at Tompkins it has worked flawlessly. I hope the district and the board see the value in the lead custodial position and this new system and keeps it going for years to come. Thank you.
Hi, I am Karen Harris. I am a lead custodian at Tehachapi High School. Excuse me. I have a dry throat. I'm so sorry. I'm the lead custodian at the high school. Our school goes 24/7. We have many functions that go on in the gym, the cafeteria, and sometimes both. As lead custodian, I let our other custodians know what is going on day to day. I work out a plan for what needs to be done for all events. This system has worked well, and I think a lead custodian is a good thing. Thank you. Short and sweet. Good evening. My name is Sandy Resendez, and I'm the Golden Hills lead custodian. I'd like to provide an update on the implementation of the new custodial model at Golden Hills. With this new model, I've had the opportunity to train my 2 coworkers in daily and summer cleaning, in addition to training one of our roving custodians. We communicate daily with our principals. We work together to strategize and find solutions to problems and issues that come up with our facility. With the addition of the project manager position, the communication between custodial and maintenance has greatly improved. This summer, there were numerous projects planned at Golden Hills. Kelly continually kept me updated about all the projects being done and their proposed timelines. As the lead, I prepared a plan for our summer cleaning. This plan had to be readjusted many times due to the timelines changing with our contractors. We custodians would meet each morning to discuss these potential changes and our plans for the day. This communication was very valuable and helped us to complete our summer work on time. The custodian leads are also responsible to find coverage for custodian absences. The new system has been highly effective. If we're not able to secure coverage, we enact a plan to take care of the core essential duties. This ensures our schools will be secured properly and ready for students the next day. In the past, this was not always the case. The new custodian model has provided the extra support that was really needed. It successfully bridges the gap between the school sites and the maintenance department. Thank you.
How you doing? My name is Chad Reinhardt, and I'm a custodian at Jacobson Middle School, and I'm representing our lead custodian, Efren Naligan, and our team. Efren sent me a list of some of the main points and improvements he's seen since becoming lead custodian. Number 1, hands-on training of subs as well as seasoned custodians. Before, there was no consistency in training, and there was no directly on campus to hold anyone accountable. With a lead custodian, there is someone on hand and accessible that can make sure procedures are followed, that staff is on time, and that can train everyone consistently, which will hold up the integrity of each school site. Number 2, it's a possibility of job growth. Before, there was nothing to inspire to or move up to. Knowing there is a possibility for growth gives us all hope. It gives us a reason to work harder and a goal to keep working forward. The third one says new sub procedures. Finding a sub when we went through maintenance was chaotic. The disarray and lack of clear and hands-on communication had a negative impact on attitudes and performance. Being able to communicate directly between custodians and subs in Cary Austin has been great so far. It really evaluates some of the issues we have had. And the last one says having hands-on administrators at each site. At our site, we worked with the principal and vice principal to adjust the schedules and routes of our 2 morning custodians because they were too heavy. This is an issue that was never solved when working under maintenance and operation. But after a few meetings with our new administrators, we were able to lessen their load and distribute the work among all the night custodians. Before this changed the daytime custodians were really struggling. Being their lead custodian gave me the chance to fix a system that wasn't working. A system that maintenance and operations couldn't see wasn't working because they weren't at our site. Having hands-on leads and administrators feels crucial to continue making the changes and improvements that our school deserves.
Hello, I'm David from JMS, known as the cafeteria custodian / cafeteria worker. It's been a learning curve. If I come over and just told you guys everything was 100% perfect, I'll be lying. We're learning, things are improving. Administration like Lo and Ben, it's awesome to be our boss. Why? Direct information. If something occurs, they already know what's happening. Let's say we're having an event, like back to school night and stuff, and an incident occurs. He knows exactly who's on campus, what time, when is being done, what can be let go for emergency situations. I love the direct information from Lo and Ben. I think what the biggest issue we had was, I'm trying to think how I can, administration didn't know exactly what custodians did, and exactly what Lo said. I had Ben and Lo come into the rooms and be like, what are you doing? I'm stripping floor. He's like, I'm going to stand here and watch you do it. 10 minutes. All right, dry it. Just do this. He's like, that's how you do it? I'm like, all right. Go to the next room. Here comes Lo. After Ben, we already went, oh, okay. Okay. Keep on coming down. I'll show you everything. And I'm like, all right. And I'm going to tell you, I have never worked much harder I had in any summer than this year, because I wanted to make sure you guys were satisfied. You know, and the lead was there too. He was like, David, look. I'm like, I'll get it. Look at that. Look. He was pointing things out I didn't see. A different mind structure sometimes is better to identify problems, cleanliness. Even the superintendent, I feel bad saying this. She's like, David. I'm like, what? Look behind the door. I'm like, look. She looked behind us like, you didn't walk this or clean this. I felt so bad. You know, and I told Efren told everyone else. Now, everybody at our school now is making sure they're looking behind the doors to sweep and mop it. So, I think LEAD is very, very useful. Direct information. Also, I want to share is I also do a comic book business with a guy named Ramon. He lives in Indiana. He is a vice principal for the school district. There's leads there. And they've been doing it for multiple years, and they said the system works fabulous. And I just wanted to share that because I really believe the LEAD system works. Of course, our school needs a lot more structure working. We're building on it. I'm kind of like been jumping in now with administration, giving my thoughts and ideas to help Efren move on and stuff, because I feel Efren's a learning curve. He's working on it. I love Efren. He's awesome to work with. He's always teaming up with me. But I just want to say the LEAD is really, really crucial. It helps the district out. Direct information, things get done, point of view of access, and maintenance. I mean, oh gosh, did you see all the construction they did this summer? Doing roofing, tile, air conditioning, this and this. They should be focused on repairing the school while the custodians are working and maintaining the cleanliness of the school. That's what I believe about the LEAD. Thank you.
Ms. Patterson?
I'd like to go first. Not to disrupt. I mean, that was a tough act to follow. Thank you. Yes, so I'd like to speak as part of the team because you heard Mrs. Carrie Austin be mentioned. That's my assistant. Our office is responsible for coordinating the Rovers. So as you know, we went a long time having trouble getting a substitute custodian. Our substitute custodian, is it one person, Dr. Romero? Do we have one permanent, like one sub-custodian? Maybe two? On the list, yeah. It's very short. It's very hard to find a sub. So we have essentially hired 3 permanent substitutes to float around the district. Yes. So that has been a big relief that we are using our ESSER funds, because that is definitely, you know, what promotes cleanliness, safety, ensuring that schools are active, mitigating learning loss. Does this plan, you know, we did learn a lot about the importance of the custodian role, and how much they deal with and the challenge in so many people spread throughout the district. I would say one of the challenges that we had when it was under maintenance is the organization of substitutes. Coordinating that many people does have a tremendous amount of challenge. And now that that's just limited to one school site, where that lead and that principal can determine, what they can do today to, save some time until tomorrow, until their custodian is back, or if they're out for a week, to have that lead be able to coordinate specific to the needs of that school is something that was needed. If it wasn't for this model, we would certainly have a challenge doing the kinds of projects that we have been able to do this summer, because there's been a focus on maintenance, and the facilities department, Mr. Kirk Gilbert and Ms. Kelly Patterson, have been able to focus on our projects and drive them efficiently, really stay on top of them, and not have to spend what was actually hours of just organizing custodians where they should go, and just more so to meet kind of the balance, and wasn't specific to the needs of that site. So we've learned some things that some challenges that we had, or some information that might have not known, but these are individuals that work with chemicals. They work around our students. There's even light maintenance in their job description. It's a very important role, and I think that by going through this process and putting that in the hands of the school site administration has been easier for us as the maintenance department, because just frankly, what I wouldn't want is a principal to say, well, they don't belong to me, I don't know. So this is messed up, and, the ability to point fingers or to say, this isn't my responsibility, that is gone. This year, we have heard the word accountability from the superintendent more times than before, and she used to say it a lot. So this really does kind of put it in our hands as administrators, that we are responsible for our area, not just for instructing students, or my area for paying bills, but essentially the cleanliness and responsibility for the site. Like Mr. Lowe said, before I got here, I see things differently now that maintenance and facilities is part of my job. I see a room differently than I used to, and I think that really does translate into a skill and something that makes us better at our jobs and to serve our students.
I'm Kelly Patterson. I'm the M&O project manager. I wanted to just touch upon the custodial transition. I think HOJAT had a lot of good points to make. It has allowed the maintenance department to spend our mornings responding to maintenance crises and emergencies rather than filling custodial absences. We still have a few kinks we are trying to work out, of course. But I feel like it ultimately empowers the custodians to take a little bit more pride in their work. And I think if we can work our way through the kinks, this will be a good transition plan. Thank you.
Is that everybody?
I'm not sure if there's anybody else who wants to talk on this topic that's part of our staff and involved with this, but thank you, everyone who, some of you let me know that you were wanted to weigh in on this topic, and it was an open invitation to staff that are involved in this model to be able to do so this evening. So at this point, that concludes, I think, our team comments, and I'll just revert back to you for questions or comments that you might have.
Board, any questions for any of our fine folks?
It's not a question, but it's a statement. Having experienced what you're going through, at least not in the educational realm, but in the industrial realm, the closer to the job, the more information is known about that job. And management, you got to do some learning.
Anyone else?
I'm not sure if this question can be answered tonight, so if not, if I can get an update at some point. We talked about subs and attendance. has our overall custodial attendance increased with their productivity? Does anybody, like I said, if we don't have that number, because it sounds like we have our sub-situation figured out, but it also sounds that everybody's so excited that their attendance would have gone up. So I'm just wondering if we've tracked that, and if somebody at some point can let us know.
We'd be happy to track it. I don't have the data sitting in front of me on polling attendance, but I'm sure we can take a look at that and provide that information to you. Thank you.
Well, as you know, back in September of '22, when this was approved, I was highly critical of it, and I just want to make sure that, especially the custodians in the room now, I have some questions and still have some concerns, but it's not about the work that our custodians do. I'm going to give you a couple examples from less than a week. I was at Tompkins, and Matt came in the office, and it was 3 different people with 3 different requests. He handled it with grace and professionalism, and took care of it. I was at the high school today to deliver a Rotary shirt to one of our members who won't be able to go to our meeting on Thursday. And I went to say hi to Anna Hoffman, and Karen was instructing one of the custodians on an event later in the week, and I've known Karen for 20-some years. And it gave me a proposal I'll get to later, after my questions. One thing that bothered me about how the lead custodians were selected, the MOU took care of it, but it did not follow the CSEA contract. And so I was asking I would like to know from the principals how they chose the lead custodian. Anyone?
Hello. I put out an email to each of the custodians suggesting if they were interested in the thought of being the lead custodian to arrange a time to meet with me. All of the custodians at my school were interested in being considered, and so I interviewed each of them, talked with them a little bit about the job as I saw it and as they might imagine it as well, and then I made my recommendation based on that.
Thank you, Mr. Lowe. Any principal do something different? Thank you. I think as a board, maintenance is obviously very important, safety. Also, the main role of a principal is to be the instructional leader. And I'm hoping this isn't taking away from any of your observations, any kind of training you want to do with probably new teachers, because student achievement is important. Anyone? Mr. Manchazari.
Is it all right to answer, although I'm not a principal?
Yeah, they're, except for one, they're all in the back, and I could...
Okay, so I just wanted to point out that the development of the project manager position was intended with that very concern in mind. Kelly Patterson's role is to be that intermediary between the complexities of maintenance and to alleviate the burden of maintenance from the administrator by being able to inspect the site, relay that information. The lead custodian is also to alleviate that burden. And so it's kind of by design with that taken into consideration.
Okay, thank you. Oh, go ahead, Kendra. Ms. Bailey.
In my experience at my site, it's been the opposite. It's actually made it a little bit easier, and it's not that there wasn't follow through by maintenance before, but it's for me that I had to have it on my list to follow up on something. And when you have a department that's handling so many different sites, it's like that turnaround isn't always immediate. So to be able to give it to somebody and then to be able to trust that this is going to happen and it's going to get taken care of and that they're going to follow up with you, and you can kind of, we have to cross things off our to-do lists while we're, so it's just, to me, it's been a relief, because I know that it's going to get handled. And so that does free up my time and my energy to be able to concentrate on being an instructional leader. If that helps.
Thank you for sharing.
Yeah.
Mhm. Yes, it does. So I know there was, Ms. Margerson mentioned she has a new lead custodian, Matt Mitchell. And this is sort of on the topic, and we discussed this back in, I think it was in December, why Matt's getting that stipend was not on a personnel report. The lead custodians were on the personnel report, and what I'm going to, not now because it's not agendized, but at the next meeting, ask, and it sort of ties in with the proposal I have, that I think everyone will like, except for maybe Mr. Intezari. That's sort of a joke. So one question I have is, who supervised the custodians at all the sites during the summer when no administrator was on duty? You were there as summer school principal, so, yeah, and Kendall, and Ms. Bailey.
I think, like Claire alluded to it too, but we have good communications with our leads, so they are in that leadership role, so while they can't supervise others, I think they are in contact with us and communication with us. We really don't have too much time off as administrators, so I worked, off and on during the summer, like a week here and then a week off, but even on my weeks off, I was in communication with Sandy, which is a joy to me. It's not any trouble or anything, but it's good to know that, we're touching base and having that open communication. But I think that's also what's nice about a small school district, too, is that we have those relationships. So I don't know if that's supervising, if that's what you mean, but...
No,
Okay.
sorry, and with all due respect, I think when you and your family take a week off and go somewhere, you need a week off.
Okay.
Yeah,
sure.
So to Mr. Kaminsky's point, this is something that actually is being incorporated into the handbook, is that the direct supervision role will be with a project manager and M&O over the summer months. It's detailed within the handbook. The handbook's been a work in progress. It's not quite ready to be finalized because we're trying to ensure that our whole administrative team, those that are supervising the custodial leads, as well as the custodial leads themselves, have been through all of the information and had a chance to provide feedback, as well as that we're addressing all of the compliance items. I think maybe Mr. Intezari touched on it. There's a lot of record keeping that goes along with the cleaning chemicals and so forth that are on campus, so that's going to be well detailed within the handbook as well. So yeah, I think it's just something that needs to be formalized, and it is being formalized within the handbook so that they know who to go to, just like we would for poison control, for animal on campus, all of those different things. All of that information is, the goal is to have every question that you might have as a lead or a go-to to get additional support, that you can find that within the handbook. So that's what's in progress right now.
So the process of arranging for a sub, if an existing custodian is asked by the lead custodian to cover at their site for a few additional hours tacked onto their 8-hour day, who authorizes the overtime?
The administrator at the site.
What if they're gone home for the evening? That's... Sorry, former principal, these things come up.
Yeah. I haven't had that eventuality come up at my site yet, that it happened after I was gone. I don't mean to say that that won't happen, but so far it hasn't. If that happens, that would probably be a little bit of a sticky situation.
Yes.
Especially if there was something spilled that needed to be cleaned up.
Thank you. Okay, has anyone at the district office, which has already been answered, and/or a site person had to call for a sub? If so, what were the circumstances? This is not in the MOU.
I think a lot of the questions will be answered once the handbook is finalized. I do want to say that because we've all discussed these questions and we're all working towards it to make sure it's available. But I have not had to deal with the sub. It would usually come from my office. The only time I would have to deal with the sub is if I know about an extended leave or, a custodian's going to be out, but.
When the regular sub-call, Dr. Romero, I would not expect you to have to deal with that.
Yeah, so no, from the district office, absolutely not.
Other than
It's
Mrs.
been
Austin.
handled.
Other than Mrs. Austin.
Yes, because she sends out roving subs.
Correct. Item, this has already been addressed, but over the summer, JMS, they had 3 major projects going on, and some workers would walk on strip floors that are, at least 2 of our gentlemen here had to remop. So I think with M&O in charge over the summer, that will help because there needs to be coordination between, so we can ask, hey, you guys put in the AC, what rooms you can be in, what hallways, et cetera. Because there was a lot of double work done by the custodians at JMS, and Mr. Cantalupo's nodding his head.
Yeah, we can blame some of that on Ryan and his technology work.
Yeah, that was definitely on my side that happened. I will say that I did have a call from Mr. Ben the following morning. I was getting that call as early as could be, saying, hey, my team had to do extra work. So Mr. Ben was very on point with the fact that they had to do extra work, let me know, and I had a communication with the contractor within probably about 2 hours of being notified. We were communicating, and I don't think it happened again. Please tell me it didn't, right? No. No, okay, good. So, it was resolved fairly quickly with Mr. Ben communicating with me right after it happened, or right as soon as he found out.
Thank you, Mr. McKay. It's just, before the school year's even over, there should be a meeting with, next summer with M&O and any other contractors and at least the lead custodian and Mr. Lowe and Mr. Ben. Okay, I have questions for Mrs. Patterson. She's the project manager. The job description shows she's confidential management. Who does she supervise?
To my knowledge, I don't supervise anyone directly.
Okay.
She doesn't supervise anyone. We have other confidential management team members who do
Okay,
not
so-
directly supervise
In
anyone.
her job description, and I think you've mentioned, we've talked about it, she on occasion goes around in the evening and checks work. She sees a failure in the custodian's performance while walking the site in the evening. Does she have the authority to give the custodian a directive for immediate correction?
We've talked about it, if you want
I communicate with the site principals.
The next day?
The next day.
What if the custodian blows it off? And it's a concern of mine. You should have that authority if you're having to check on their work. Give them a directive and then let the site administrator know the next day. I think you should have some authority, especially if you're involved in meeting with the administrator for their evaluation.
In terms of efficiency, I would agree, it doesn't make sense to not address something the same evening.
Okay.
And she does, well, I should say M&O, it's primarily going to be Kelly, is part of the consultation on the evaluation of the employee. The evaluation itself will be prepared by the site administrator, but with input from M&O, and that is detailed in the handbook, and I believe that's also detailed within the MOU.
And then who decides what training needs to be done in certain areas like the acquisition of new equipment.
That's our department. We do implement equipment training. In fact, this Thanksgiving, we do have a tentative date on schedule for a custodial refresher. We also have a tentative date on schedule for December for a refresher. And then this coming summer, we have a full day planned where the custodians will be actually physically using the equipment, going through processes and procedures with waxing reps.
How many trainings have you had to do so far? I know it's been just a few months.
I've done one, and it was for Yak Tracks, which is like a cleat.
For the snow and ice. How was that well attended by the custodians?
We had a few absences.
Are they able to make up the training, or?
They are, but an additional training will need to be scheduled.
And was that through another agency or the manufacturer? Or?
It's through another agency, so they actually have to come back up the hill and set all that up.
And do they charge us?
They don't,
Okay.
no.
But if somebody did, that would be an added expense, and I would think the custodians would be professional and come to the training.
Yes.
Okay. Okay, I'd like to thank everybody. I was able to skip some questions, so thank you. My thoughts on that, especially after seeing Karen and Matt in action, and those were regular duties of usually the day custodian when I was principal at JMS. But I like the fact that they're getting paid extra. But my proposal would be to make that a position, part of a lead custodian position that's paid another $500 a month, $125 a week, whatever, be part of the regular pay. And given its, and I'd like to see custodians, say one site's got veteran custodians with the one lead, and an opening comes up for a lead custodian. I'd like that custodian to be able to put in for that at another site. I think that's best for showing the custodians that hard work and perseverance, good attendance pays off. And I don't know if that's a new MOU, something in negotiations or what, but I would be in support of that. And that's all I have. I'm sorry, where's Mr. Gilbert? Just thought he'd be here.
And just for my curiosity, how do you manage the training of the roving subs? I mean, they never know where they're going to go or what they're going to do unless they know what they're going to do and where they're going.
Initially, we had assigned the lead custodian stipend, 5 of them, one for each school site. We see that because we also have the transportation department, the district office, TILA, and the maintenance office that need custodians. We've also implemented a 6th in that, so the training for maintenance will go to the leads, and the leads disperse to the custodians.
Thank you, everyone. Superintendent Larson Everson, item 2, approval of board policies.
Gosh, we got to it so quickly, you caught me a little bit by surprise. Okay, approval of the policies. Based on the written recommendation from the California School Boards Association, the policies were selected and revised in accordance with those recommendations. And these were presented as a first read item at the August 8th board meeting, and we are bringing them forward again this evening for the board's consideration, and we recommend approval. Thank you.
Any questions from any of the trustees? We already had our first read 2 weeks ago. Do we have a motion to approve the changes in board policies?
Kelly, make the motion.
I'll second.
It was, the motion was made by Vice President Kelly and seconded by Trustee Sweeney that the board approve the following board policies and exhibits as presented. All in favor, say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Motion passes 5-0. Item 3, approval of school bell schedules 2023-2024 Tompkins Elementary, 2023-2024 Jacobson Middle School. Superintendent Larson Everson.
Thank you, President Kaminsky. Tompkins would like to revise their 23-24 bell schedule. Really, the only changes relate to the pre-K, TK, K, recess and lunch times. I think the intent or the thought was, and Ms. Ray could speak to this if you so desire. However, with the expansion of the playground, there was a desire to try to have all the kids be accessing the same recess and lunchtime. And once school started, they quickly discovered that might be a good idea to stagger it and have 3 and 3. So 3 classes accessing at a time for both recess and lunch. And so that's the proposal for Tompkins, and that update is attached. And then for JMS, it was just a correction. When we originally brought the schedule forward on June 27th, there was an error that pertained to the incorrect indicated time for early release days. So that error and calculation has been corrected and updated, and is now accurately reflects the desired bell schedule for JMS. So with that, those are the corrections and requests for this evening with regard to bell schedules for the school year. Thank you.
Superintendent, I should have caught this Friday, but on the recommendation and the quick summary, it leaves off Jacobson. So I'm just going to add that. It'll be on the record.
On the one that I have for the agenda, it shows it listed there. There's a comma. It reads approval of school bell schedules 23-24, Tompkins Elementary, comma 23-24 Jacobson Middle School.
Yeah, because mine doesn't. So I'm just going to add it.
Very good.
All right, so it's recommended the board approve school bell schedule 2023-2024 Tompkins Elementary and 2023-2024 Jacobson Middle School as presented. Do I have a motion?
Kelly.
I'll second.
It was motioned by Vice President Kelly and seconded by Clerk Wood that the board approve the school bell schedule to Tompkins Elementary and Jacobson Middle School as presented. All in favor, say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Motion passes 5-0. Thank you, Superintendent. Mr. Intezari, you're back up again. Information item, presentation on maintenance and facility projects completed for summer 2023.
Thank you, President Kaminsky. Just in case.
Thank you.
Oh, you haven't seen the presentation yet, huh? All right. So before I begin, a big thank you to the custodians, maintenance, grounds. This was a tremendous summer. I hear that this is probably one of the roughest summers that they've had in terms of workload, but you'll see the fruit of the labor. And so, but I would be remiss to not thank them from the very beginning. Your team did great too, Ryan. All right, so to begin, for Cummings Valley Elementary School, we had presented repainting the yellow lines to the classrooms for the kiddos, painting exit arrows on the asphalt parking, which I think is
We're still working on
that. Septic system improvement, no photos, but that's a good thing. Walking track resurfacing, kindergarten privacy fencing, and then the ongoing solar project. So for the solar, clearing the area has begun, but not the installation of any panels.
Actually, since the Do you mind, President, if I ask a question?
No, go ahead.
The asphalt parking paint arrows, are those which parking lot? And are they also going to be an entrance arrow for the one that's not an exit?
Oh, originally it was requested only exit arrows, but while we're at it, we can definitely add the entrance arrows as well. That makes a lot of sense.
Let's hope. Thank you.
All right, so on to the photos, the ooh, ah, yes. So the track repavement, I mean, it's really hard. Okay, so one thing I have to apologize, we are not photographers. We really tried hard to get more and more photos, but Kelly, I feel, was more worried about projects. I have a lot of pictures of uneven concrete now being flat, but that doesn't really, sell the show. But we did repave the track. You could see the yellow lines much clearer than before, and then that kinder expansion. Oh no, that's for CV. This is just the privacy fencing for the kinder, the kinder area. And I know at the meeting when this was presented, we were told this is not the high priority, that Tompkins was a high priority, and so we'll be seeing Tompkins's kinder expansion of the playground and privacy fencing as well. But this really did add a windscreen, provide some just kind of secure feeling for the kiddos, and it looks really great. On to Tompkins. So when we presented for the summer projects, we talked about installing hand dryers, extension of privacy fabric for the kindergarten play area, kitchen abatement and repair, exterior paint, and some roofing. So we initially, Kelly, do you recall how much the quote was to get roofing done for Tompkins?
It was 6 figures.
Yes.
Beyond.
So Mr. Gilbert put his maintenance staff on the roof, and they did it themselves. So a big appreciation for them, because I'm not doing it. But it was a hot summer for them, but we are very happy, especially given the rain that we got very soon after. Next slide. So you can see in the top left corner, the before photo, it's just kind of a field with a fence and, just some grass. But it really just completes the look. It adds privacy for the kids, the parents, or from the parent. Whoever we're trying to keep the kids private from. And it just really brings it all together. We got a lot of positive feedback this year about that playground. Next slide.
I have a question.
Yes.
I think Mrs. Rain and I were discussing this a couple of weeks ago, extending that privacy fence all the way down Pinion. So kids at recess, the older kids, have some privacy as well. So just...
Yes, that would have been a good suggestion before, but yes. We
For
see,
next year. Or
yes.
That could be a current year, actually.
Definitely taken into consideration.
So I think that may be something that is looked at for the next summer. So I'm just going to speak up because as part of the safety measures that were really important to me as the superintendent and shared among our administrative team were the films, installation of the films on the windows. And it's not every window on a campus, but it's those street-facing, such as Curry, where we want to make sure that film is applied. Same thing with the privacy fencing. You'll hear later, we did some privacy fencing in another location that's not a busy road, but it wasn't at the level of priority as it was for Golden Hills and for Tompkins because of where those playground locations are. Same thing with the doors. These were like top tier. And as we go forward, the privacy there along Pinion, especially with Pinion opening up, is something that we'll be looking at for the future.
Thank you. So here, just showing the roof, but it's repaired. There was new paint and a refresh of the mural at Tompkins, as well as the update to the kitchen. Not only did we replace the flooring, but there were also installations for, what do you call the kitchen equipment?
The serving tables and extra prep tables.
Thank you. Next slide. All right, here we have Golden Hills Elementary, the installation of restroom partition replacement, HVAC electrical upgrades for the lower wing, asphalt seal and stripe, exterior trim paint, and some carpeting replacement. So here the photos just show the updates to Golden Hills in those areas, and if you haven't been, please, I think you'll be pleasantly surprised at what some paint can really do for a school site.
Another question, this might be for Mrs. Bailey. The partition replacement, was that due to vandalism or just age?
Age,
Okay.
but it helped the black house and the vandalism.
Some additional photos of the painting, sealing and striping, as well as some of the carpet replacement. Next slide. So for Jacobson Middle School, we also had HVAC and electrical upgrades, asphalt replacement, seal and stripe, replace restroom partitions, roofing for the band room, cafeteria and kitchen areas, as well as the wiring upgrades and the ongoing solar project. So for the solar at Jacobson Middle School, also they have a ground mount on the east side of the campus, and that they've begun the grading. So you have the HVAC electrical upgrade progress, and the new partitions. Next slide. And then the band room, and while they were at it, they also refreshed the disaster shed. It was looking quite weathered. Next slide. And so here we have a before and after of the JMS Central Kitchen. I couldn't remember what the floor looked like before, and the new flooring makes a difference, and it just feels like the food is going to taste much better. Next slide.
I have another request. I see the picture of the JMS disaster shed repainting. Is it still outside the fence?
Yes.
I would request that sooner rather than later that be moved inside the fence somewhere. Because if you're in an emergency, you've got to keep a good security line on that fence, especially parents, and you need to get to the emergency shed. It defeats the purpose. And maybe where Mr. Lowe took out the handball court, I don't know. But thank you.
For the Tehachapi High School, we have the Cory Burnett improvements regarding fencing, painting, and the repairs to the concrete seating on the home side. Gymnasium Warrior logo refresh, restroom repair in the 900 ring, the much-needed tennis court resurfacing. Ever since I got here, the athletic director has just been on me about that, and we're happy to make it happen. The quote we got during 2 years ago was about $400,000, and we were able to bring that down to the total cost of the project being like around 35% of that. So we were glad to make that happen. And then also the solar. In regard to the solar for Tehachapi High School, they're going to have a combination of the canopy and the ground mount. The ground mount has begun, and the canopy is about to be completed. Next slide. So here you can see the progress at Cory Burnett, some painting, some refreshing, and the progress, the stands look very different. It's hard to match 80-year-old concrete, but I think the maintenance did an excellent job. We added some definition in the color between the rows as well as in the steps, just to make sure that with safety in mind, not just aesthetics. The fencing along the back row, that was just fence before, and now it has been replaced, so it's nice and straight, as well as with the slats, and just brings a really good look. Next slide. Here we have a picture of the Warrior logo refresh on the gymnasium, and just some examples of the asphalt sealing and striping and curb painting that occurred around the high school, really bringing, kind of refreshing it from the early 2000s to 2020-ish. And here is the before and after for the THS solar canopy. We really did kind of get down to the very last minute of whether we were going to be able to open up that parking lot or not. And with a lot of convincing and phone calls and more phone calls, we made it happen. So there are some parking spots that are still not available, but for the most part, parking under the canopy is available. And we've received a lot of compliments on not for the lower carbon footprint or anything, more so the aesthetics and the shade, but we are happy to bring, just a new look to THS.
Any estimated time when it'll be 100% complete?
100% complete?
But not the whole, so
the high
just
school?
that.
No, currently, the focus has been on the completion for the parking, and then getting to the parts of the campus, the school sites like JMS and CV and THS that don't have any kind of intrusion into the school operations. So Tompkins and, is Tompkins the only site left with campus? Oh, and Golden Hills. Those two sites likely going to be moved off to the summer.
Okay.
But we think during the school year, probably, it's kind of hard to tell because, estimates from contractors are always wishy-washy.
Right.
But we think full, at least the program, the ones with canopy, with the ground mount will be complete around February. There's a lengthy process in order to disconnect from the grid or SoCal Edison. But we think that by late winter, early spring.
Okay. I'm mainly concerned with the teacher's parking lot. I'm assuming that the east side of the parking lot is in high demand, looking at the shadow.
Yeah, we only occupy about 8 spaces currently for the remainder of the electrical connection. All right, I really want a big ooh and ah for this tennis court because it was awful, and when Kelly sent me this, I asked if she was at Wimbledon, but I don't really know anything about tennis. I just know that we're happy to see the kids get a court that they deserve and can be proud of. There you go. All right, and Tila, so Tila, we are still scheduled for the gymnasium floor replacement to begin in September, and we expect that to be done before, what did I say?
You said the gymnasium replacement.
The whole gym.
Yeah, we're replacing the whole gym. No, gymnasium floor replacement is scheduled to begin in September and be completed about 6 to 8 weeks, so just before the end of December, just in time for winter. So our apologies to the cheer team. They were very not happy because that's the middle of their season, but we appreciate that they were able to work around us, and we're happy to provide a new gym.
Is the Boys and Girls Club affected by that? I would assume so.
They will be, but since we're hoping that they can find various areas throughout the campus, they also have a new playground coming. And so we should be able to beat the winter seasons in order to have enough.
As long as we don't have any more tropical storms.
Yeah.
And I just got a call from Miracle, the new playground will be here tomorrow.
Yes, so that is the playground installation where the area has been prepped, and so and installation is the last thing. There was also some roofing work as well as concrete repair in the drop-off area for Tila. Next slide. So as you'll see, it's a lot of in-progress work, some completed pavement, but we're excited to see before the end of December, a lot of the projects wrap up here at the TEC. And again, a big thank you to our maintenance, grounds, custodian teams for all their work during the summer.
And thank you to you. Thank you. All right, item 2, approval of the amendment to the agreement between MGT, EH&A Investor, LLC, and Tehachapi Unified School District. Mr. Intezari.
Thank you, President Kaminsky. We are requesting to extend the hours included in the agreement to engage EH&A for guidance during the year-end closing process, as well as an analysis of our multi-year projection. The agreement is for the 2023-2024 fiscal year. The agreement is at a rate of $200 per hour, and we're requesting to amend from $30,000 to $46,000 in order to account for the additional time needed for closing the books, and we seek your approval for this agreement.
So I'm going to have to go to Annex number 1. What exactly do they do for us?
So the closing process is, involves so you start the year with a certain allotment, you have carryover, we receive money, we spend money, and then there's the reporting of it. And so because we have over 20 different restricted programs, as well as the local funding formula, they help make sure that the beginning balances are appropriate to start the year. So July 1, 2023 matches what June 30, 2023 ended, ensuring that all of the revenues have been captured. So because we're paid kind of on an estimate of the attendance, the P2. Our expenses are what they are, but just ensuring that they are in alignment and in the right pockets, right? So if we have a restricted program, if there was let's say, a better place to transfer an expense, or making sure that a restricted program is spent out. We also have to reconcile our balance sheet, so ensuring that inventory is accurately reported, making sure that our receivables, so any invoice that we put out there, if those have been reconciled, that it's representing a very reasonable and appropriate number, as well as our liabilities that we book at the end of the year. So it's just making sure that our financials, like the ones included in the audit report, are on track to be spent in the appropriate place. I know it sounds quite, simple, but the thing is that the checklist is over 10 pages, and it's almost like 11 font, maybe 10. It's really small, and so to have our newest coordinator, Miss Bianca Becker, she, just demonstrated a lot of effort in her interview. We hired her because she has school district experience and worked in payroll, but we don't really have anyone in our office aside from me that has any financial reporting experience, and so this has really helped coordinate that effort. So while we have a potential hurricane coming our way, and I'm working with the superintendent and Miss Becker, who lives in Palmdale's, for roof moving in and has to work. We didn't lose any progress on closing the books because we have MGT who's consulting us and providing what reconciling entries to make and making sure that we're on progress to close before the deadline of September 15th.
Thank you. Any other questions from the board? Okay, it's recommended that the board approve the amendment to the agreement between MGT EH&A Investor LLC and Tehaspia Unified School District as presented. Do I have a motion?
Kelly, make the motion.
Second.
It was motioned by Vice President Kelly and seconded by Trustee Cooper that the board approve the amendment to the agreement between MGT EH&A Investor LLC and Tehaspia Unified School District as presented. All in favor say aye. Aye. All opposed? Motion carries 5-0. Item 3, let me move my... There. Item 3, approval of the memorandum of understanding between Fresno Pacific University and Tehaspia Unified School District for internship experiences.
Thank you, President Kaminsky. This MOU will allow the district to establish a partnership with Fresno Pacific University to support current and future student teaching internships. The district gains from this MOU from the partnership for current and future recruitment needs, and we seek your approval for this MOU.
Any questions from the board? It's recommended the board approve the memorandum of understanding between Fresno Pacific University and Tehaspia Unified School District for internship experiences as presented. Do I have a motion?
So motion.
Kelly, a second.
It is motioned by Trustee Cooper and seconded by Vice President Kelly that the board approve the memorandum of understanding between Fresno Pacific University and Tehaspia Unified School District for internship experiences as presented. All in favor say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Motion passes 5-0. Item 4, approval of declaring certain district property as surplus obsolete, refrigerator.
Thank you, President Kaminsky. Tompkins Elementary School would like to declare a refrigerator surplus in order to properly dispose, and we seek your approval for this declaration.
Okay. Any questions from the board? It's recommended the board approve declaring certain district property as surplus obsolete refrigerator as presented. Do I have a motion?
I'll make the motion. Second.
It is motioned by Clerk Wood and seconded by Trustee Sweeney. The board approve declaring certain district property as surplus obsolete refrigerator as presented. It's a roll call vote. Mrs. Omker?
President Kaminsky.
Aye.
Vice President Kelly.
Aye.
Clerk Wood.
Aye.
Trustee Cooper.
Aye.
Trustee Sweeney.
Aye.
Motion passes 5-0. Thank you, Mr. Tazari. Instructional Services, Mrs. Paxton. This is an information item, interdistrict attendance requests report.
All right, good evening. Education Code 46600 allows the district to enter into an agreement with any other school district for a term not to exceed 5 school years for the interdistrict attendance of students who are residents of TUSD. Education Code 48313 requires the district to keep an accounting record of all requests for admittance and a record of their disposition. This record must include the number of requests granted, denied, or withdrawn, and for denied requests, the reason for the denial. The number of students transferred into and out of the district pursuant to this program, the race, ethnicity, gender, self-reported socioeconomic status, eligibility for free or reduced price meals, and the district of residence for each student transferred into or out of the district pursuant to this program. The number of students transferred into or out of the district pursuant to this program who are classified as English learners or students with disabilities. As applicable, the number of students who are provided transportation assistance to a district, school, or program, and the total number of students provided transportation assistance pursuant to the District of Choice program. In compliance with Education Code, I present the attached documents: TUSD Interdistrict Attendance Report, Policy 5117, Interdistrict Attendance, and Interdistrict Permit Student Expectation Letter.
Any questions for Mrs. Paxton from the board? Thank you.
Okay, thank you.
Item 9, future items. I have one. I think the lead custodian position that I propose can wait till we get into negotiations, planning. But I know the high school did a tremendous job with their WASC visit, six-year extension, outstanding. I just like to, is there a report? I'd like to see a report, because I'm sure it wasn't perfect. I couldn't hear you. Practice. Oh, practically, yeah. So I just, if there's a report that they give out, I'd like to see it from one of them, but the rest of the board.
I provided the board with the letter that came from WASC that announced their accreditation, but if there's additional document on the finalized report that was provided by the school or by the WASC, we can
Yeah, I'd like to see
provide that.
what improvements they're working on, or have been asked to work on, suggested to work on. Anyone else have a future item? Lunch.
Okay, so our launch this evening is provided by no one other than Dr. Bonnie Porter. Just as a reminder that the launch is part of our Capturing Kids' Hearts it's one of the strategies that we expect our teachers to use in the classroom. All of us, thank you, Dr. Porter, as administrators, use within the context of meetings and gatherings that we hold. And our wonderful presenter of the launch this evening, again, is Dr. Porter.
Okay, just to tie this in with what we're doing across our district, we're talking about being hedgehogs, which are super focused and roll up in a ball and do nothing else but roll up in a ball and stay focused when they're stressed. So this ties into our whole theme. So I found this little launch, Live Life Like a Hedgehog. Life is simple, just be yourself. Stay sharp. It's okay to be a little on hedge. Spiky exteriors have tender hearts. Cute is good. You will always be loved. Everyone could use a little hedge hug. And remember, everything will turn out all right. And you have a little hedgehog with the saying in the back. All right, thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Porter. And with that, I'm at the last item. Everyone on the board's favorite, adjournment. We're adjourned at 7:05.